Menopause. It is a hot topic nowadays, beyond hot flashes, but because of the life-altering effects of it. Dr. Victoria Mondloch is an OBGYN wellness physician with more than 35 years in practice, a self-described disruptor of women's health now, educating and empowering women to know how their body works and to take charge of their health and wellness. She is the author of Full Bloom, this book right here, Health and Happiness Through Hormone Balancing, and the book Blossoming for Adolescents as well, an advocate for menopausal women addressing what she calls the disinformation and misinformation in healthcare. Dr. Melissa Crawford is a former family doctor turned wellness mentor and inner work guide. Now her healing practice is called Another Way to Heal, guided imagery and self-healing, which is why I'm so grateful to be able to invite them all, both of them in, so that we can all talk about this. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys.
It's lovely to be here.
Thank you for the opportunity. So appreciate it.
I'm so grateful because, you know what we say, the good stuff stories, often that includes talking about the hard stuff, because we say together we can, together we will. And in this case, it's together we will start to unravel and shred the silence that our mamas were so steeped in over menopause, shrouded in. I said, even, this is how it has to be. You have to get through it. And I know both of you would beg to differ in that case, right?
Right. Well, and our moms were told the curse is gone when they hit menopause. And my mom was actually dismissed from her GYN's practice because these were his words. I've done so much surgery on you and taken out as much as I can. There is no further reason for me to see you anymore. Anything you need from now on can be done by your internist or family medicine doc. And she felt totally abandoned. Somebody she had been with for 25 years is suddenly kicking her out of his practice.
Mm-hmm. And that's the story echoed by so many women who I've talked to, that there's just not enough education in medical school. 6 hours, I think someone said, they kind of gloss over it. And in fact, I think, Melissa, that's why you left family practice, right? To be able to focus more in how to tangibly help these women that are going through it, correct?
Yeah, I left family medicine because through my son and I's health journeys, through quite severe health issues, autoimmune issues of various kinds, the medical system dismissed me and us and really had no tools to help us. And I found practitioners that helped us get to the root of our health issues and shift it on that energetic, that spiritual level, the mental, emotional level, and the physical level. And when I experienced that kind of transformation in my health, I couldn't continue to stay in my role as a family doctor. I needed to pursue studying these types of modalities.
And I know that is actually the case for you too. It became a calling, didn't it, Victoria? It became almost a calling for you beyond any kind of career, wouldn't you say?
Right. And, a lot of my personal decision was based upon even staying in medicine. When I was actually in medical school and then just out of medical school, I had 2 instances where I literally had significant health issues and I died on the operating room table twice. And both times the doctors dismissed my symptoms, dismissed my interpretation of my symptoms, and told me my symptoms meant something else. And it was only when I presented with significant enough symptoms that I had to be taken to the operating room. But both times I literally died on the operating room table, flatlined, and had to be brought back. And the second time I had just delivered my second daughter, and I was a full-fledged practicing OBGYN. And I had a bowel obstruction going on from prior scar tissue from a ruptured appendix. So the surgeon didn't believe my pain was real. And he literally had to finally take me to the operating room. And what I was told by the chief resident who was in on the surgery is he opened you up and said, holy blank, blank, blank. She was telling the truth because my bowel was black. He touched it. It exploded literally, and I went flatline. And he said she was telling the truth. And so why does it take extreme measures for women to get their symptoms heard by the very people that have taken an oath to take care of them?
And in my career in broadcast news, that would be the soundbite right there. That would be the question. That's it. That's it at the essence. What is it? How can we do this differently? And that's why I celebrate the two of you so much. And I'm so grateful for your time today. So let's, to that end, Dr. Mondloch, let's talk about this book now that you have out.
Full Bloom is a book that I wrote basically focusing on the disinformation, misinformation, the myths, the truths that women are told. I did 20 years of consented research on my patients to develop the curves, not for where your hormone levels are in normal range. That's a range that goes from adolescence, puberty really, to age 90. But really what you want to know and need to know is, are your levels age appropriate? So understanding that age appropriate is the most important thing. You have to understand that if you're 19 years old, you don't want the levels of a 40-year-old, do you? And vice versa, if you have infertility, then you also need to know why I have infertility, not just we'll send you to the infertility specialist and, oh, it's only $10,000 or $12,000 a cycle, but we'll get you pregnant. Wait a minute. I want to know the root cause of what my body is saying to me. And unless you know, you really are flying blind. So knowing where your hormone levels need to be age appropriate, and that's blood work. And blood work is something that is huge, not saliva, not urine testing, because blood is what courses through your body. And it's going to get to every part of your body, head to toe. Urine doesn't, and saliva doesn't. So the best testing, which is European or gold standard based, is blood testing.
And how many women listening to this right now, or people who love women who are going through menopause, don't even have any idea what their hormone levels are? That's where you're saying, let's start there and look at the facts. Correct?
Right. In fact, most women would walk into my office and say, Doc, you are the 12th, you are the 15th. I had one woman say, you are the 18th doctor I'm seeing and nobody can help me. And I'd say, when were your hormone levels last checked? And they'd say, excuse me? Because nobody checks hormone levels. In the medical school I was trained in, menopause was simply something somebody else will take care of. Even though I, as an OBGYN, would be the one taking care of that. But obviously, as you can hear from my initial story with my mom, that was taken away from us. There is no science in women's health in the US. In Europe, they do study this. And I talk about the discrepancy of the information that women are told, US-based research versus European-based research. And guess what, ladies? They have opposite results for your health going forward. In other words, if you're told by your doctor you have an increased risk of breast cancer by taking hormone, that is 100% wrong, because the European research says the opposite. Just like there's a decreased risk for heart attack, decreased risk for stroke, decreasing the risk and reversing Alzheimer's, whoa, as well as reversing and decreasing risk for osteoporosis. Those are huge. Those are chronic, conditions that none of us want any of those. Yet that's what happens when our hormone goes away.
Right, because those estrogen receptors in the brain are screaming, like, where's the estrogen? It controls so much. I was so unaware myself truly, how much it affects. And so, but we'll talk a little bit more about the Women's Health Initiative. Like you said, some of those things that are so hard, those untruths, for lack of a better word, that are so hard to undo. But before we go there, let's just talk about, if you're listening, you might be familiar with some of these side effects. These are only a few of them. I'm going to pull up, you have a sheet that lists a ton of symptoms that you say, let's just get honest. Let's just see how many of these you have. And so when I went through, this is what I pulled out. Are you ready? It's exhausting. You're almost out of breath reading them. And again, these are just a few. Who can relate to these, or who knows someone you love who's relating to these? Short-term memory loss, brain fog, insomnia, hot flashes, dry skin, brittle hair, dry eyes, migraine headaches, heart palpitations, deep fatigue, joint pains, GERD, heartburn, low libido, increased crying, mood swings, depression, anxiety, abdominal bloating, hair loss, excess facial hair, abdominal weight gain. And you see these women who come in there and they're saying, look, so often these other doctors haven't even asked, has anyone asked about your hormone levels? And often I imagine the first time they're even hearing that question on the 18th doctor, like the previous scenario, is from you. And it starts with identifying these symptoms and saying, you don't have to live with them, correct? Once you balance that hormone optimization, you hear life-changing results, correct?
Right. And what it does is it not just identifies symptoms for women, but it validates their symptoms. Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea increased acid reflux went with low estradiol. I had no idea that my abdominal weight gain was due to excess testosterone because I went through menopause. Even though I'm exercising harder and eating less, it's not my fault, which is what women are told. Oh, you must be eating wrong. You must not slow down on your exercise. Women are blamed for something that's naturally happening in their body because medicine doesn't go there, because medicine has basically decided not to teach this in medical school. I had 0 hours of menopause or perimenopause. They didn't even talk about checking hormone levels. And if there is 0 education in a pharmaceutical model, then basically what they're going to do is what Women's Health Initiative was set up to do, was look at a pharmaceutical model to talk about menopause, but they didn't even talk about all of those symptoms. And docs, when they see that list of symptoms, or you come in with even 3 symptoms, their thought process is, oh, you have short-term memory loss, you have insomnia, you have weight gain. Well, I'm going to send you to this specialist for your short-term memory loss, and this place for your insomnia, and this specialist for maybe, do you want Wegovy? Do you want that shot for that weight gain? And they identify each of your symptoms with a different approach instead of realizing it all falls under the umbrella of hormone imbalance.
And for people who are listening going, that's me. That's me. Thank you for putting words to what I'm going through. What do you say to them? What are the first steps to take?
Most importantly, we just have to know that your levels are in balance or out of balance. What you don't know can be really harmful to you. It's not ignorance is bliss. It's not, oh, I feel okay, that should be good enough. No, realize that the regular doctor doesn't even know to check hormone levels. And if they're a doctor employed by an insurance company or a hospital system, they're basically told you can't go there because we don't make money if you try to prevent all of these referrals to specialists. That's where we make our money, and you have a quota to fulfill. So they can't even go there and check your levels for you.
That is a bold assertion, but I've heard it several times from people just like yourself who have literally committed the rest of their lives at practice to help women and meet them where they are. The blood test and the maximum hormone, max optimization, hormone optimization checks all these things. A friend of mine had such bad imbalance that they were throwing antidepressants several at a time, and it wasn't helping. Not only was it not helping the symptoms, now she had this, the mind altering. And they said, look, at your age, this is how she tells it, it happens. A lot of my clients are on this at your age. One lady said, maybe you're lazy, because she couldn't get off the couch. Yeah. I mean, whoa, no, we can do better. We can do better than that. So, and to that end, it's a movement. Almost seems like an understatement, wouldn't you say, Dr. Crawford?
Yeah, well, that leads into the first thing I wanted to share, is that women need to know, and really I share this with all of my clients, but any woman going through perimenopause or menopause that feels like they're struggling through it, that they should just know first that they're not broken and that their body is not broken. There are imbalances, but their body is trying to love them. The symptoms, my opinion on what's going on with health issues has changed dramatically, like from a medical opinion of something's broken and we have to fix it, to your body is loving you and it's sending you messages, and you just need to learn to tune in to what your body's trying to tell you. What the blood sugar imbalances, the thyroid issues, liver issues, digestive issues, just the stress nervous system, all of these things can really contribute to hormone imbalances. But there are mental and emotional root causes below those physical symptoms. So I try to guide people in really diving into the feeling, the energy of their symptoms, to see what emotions there, what limiting beliefs from their subconscious mind is a part of this, is creating this, which is the messages. The body's trying to support us in realigning with our true essence, with our soul. So it's a very spiritual journey to be on, a healing journey. I tried for quite a while initially to try to fix myself with physical things. And I think a lot of physical supports like supplements and things can be very helpful. And obviously eating a balanced diet, that's a necessary part of it. But where medicine is really lacking, even in some ways, integrative medicine can be missing the mental, emotional, spiritual point. And so I've really been focusing more on supporting my menopausal clients in diving into what's the energy behind their hot flashes. And honestly, so far, every woman has tapped into rage and anger that's been suppressed for years, generations, ancestral rage. And the disconnect that a lot of us women are conditioned, programmed to disconnect from our feminine energy, from our power, from our true self. And we're just in this modern world, we just go, and we need some balance. And so I feel like our hormones being out of balance is a symptom of like a greater collective issue of being out of balance with that masculine energy and feminine energy. Masculine energy is, doing, and feminine is more receiving and slowing down and resting. And so women and men have both of these energies within them, and we all need to be in some kind of healthy balance with that. So I really like to focus on helping people get to the root of, the traumas that haven't been processed, and including their ancestral traumas. There's some really deep stuff that can create these physical symptoms that goes beyond just any medication or diet that can fix this. So that's kind of my message, is just remember your body's trying to love you, and there's always a message, and you can tune into that. I like to guide people and help them tune into their own intuition, to their own body's messages. and process what needs to be processed. And I have been helping women with menopausal issues for quite a few years now, and it's been pretty successful to be focusing on really helping them balance their life, their nervous system, their stress levels, and getting to those deeper mental emotional root causes. I mean, I work with people with all sorts of health issues, and what I'm finding is that relational traumas, whether they're current and in the past, like childhood sort of relational traumas, are often the root, and people develop these limiting beliefs about themselves, about the world, about women and men, and it creates a disconnect from themselves. It's a coping mechanism, because if they've experienced a big stress early in life that wasn't processed, because most of us didn't grow up with any authority figures that understood how to help children process trauma. And often they were creating it for us unconsciously. So there's very simple ways. Medicine can be very complex, and what I've been moving towards is that the healing can be very simple. It doesn't mean that it's easy, because actually healing means transforming your inner world, means getting comfortable with what is uncomfortable. So all the old stuff that we just keep holding in, that we've suppressed for years, and we can be afraid to feel our feelings because it wasn't okay when we were children to feel our feelings. Our parents maybe weren't comfortable with that because they weren't comfortable with their own feelings. So it's really about just reconnecting with those feelings or messages. They aren't who we are, just like our physical conditions or symptoms aren't who we are. The feelings don't mean that we're broken. We just need to be with them for 90 seconds and dive deep into the feeling, and it will clear, as long as we don't get too attached to any story about it. So most of us are suppressing these feelings for our entire lives or decades, just for avoiding 90 seconds of discomfort. So that's my other main lesson that I teach my clients is just start having more compassion for yourself and getting comfortable with those uncomfortable feelings, just like you would if you had a child right now and they were going through a tantrum or they were crying. How would you want to hold space for that child? It's about reparenting ourselves, and in the ways that we didn't get, that we would have needed. It's about giving that to ourselves now. So with women with menopause, I'm always looking at what's going on in their relationships right now, and what is the programming about relationships to self and to others that they got in childhood. And we can just recode that. We don't have to keep living with those subconscious programs.
Right, because you have to know more than just the physical body. You have to understand the mental health overlay on the physical body. You have to understand the spiritual health and where that may be broken, and what family relationships are potentially behind what may be impacting what that patient is feeling. It may be, and very much, and I agree with Melissa completely, trauma of some type is usually part of the picture. And when women are dismissed by their practitioner as, well, you're telling me these symptoms, but what I really think you are is depressed, that just totally invalidates and negates everything that you had trust. You literally broke down your barriers of being vulnerable to come in to tell your doctor, these are my symptoms. And you're now being summarily dismissed as, I'm the professional and I know your body better than you do, even though you live in it. So let me tell you, as the authority figure, what I think you need. And it's no surprise that women are thrown onto a single thing, antidepressants or some type of a psych medication. And then it's as if that patient, that woman, is brainwashed because she's now been schooled by this doctor. This is what you have. I'm telling you, this is what you have. And this is your treatment. And if you don't respond to this treatment, what's wrong with you? Well, really, What it is it's the wrong treatment for the wrong reason. So if your car runs out of gas, you don't put oil in the engine and then say, okay, you're good to go. You need gas in the engine. So don't give a patient, or don't accept as a patient, a treatment for what you know deep down in your heart is not going on. And then it's no wonder, gee, that dose didn't work, let's up the dose. Well, then that didn't work, so let's try a second one. Well, that's just putting the wrong treatment in for the wrong reasons. Golly gee, no wonder we have so many women on antidepressants who aren't quote unquote improving, because it's not that you throw medicine at a problem, it's that you take the deeper look. You do the hormone levels, look at the symptoms, understand on that hormone symptoms worksheet that they're hormone related, low estradiol, low progesterone, excess testosterone. And that's the very basis of what happens in menopause. You know, we're told as women that from puberty to 50 and a half, average age of menopause, that, wow, you know, hormone is so good for you. It's our moxie. It's what makes us women. But then from 50 and a half and on, we're demonizing it. Well, wait a minute. You don't just wake up one morning and you went from it was good for me to now it's bad for me. Where did that happen?
As we begin to wrap this up, I feel like we need to, you mentioned early on, as we bring this full circle, a lot of concern still today, even from doctors, is that hormone replacement can cause cancer. You said early on, your strong belief is that it does not. Would you just briefly touch on the Women's Health Initiative and how hard it is to reel that back in when in fact there was some misinformation then, right? And double check your audio, would you, real quick? I want to make sure we can still hear you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Women's Health Initiative was set up as a huge study that was supposed to be the end-all be-all to look at what hormone in menopause would mean for women. Well, they did a lot of different arms of it, but the primary mistake that they made is that they utilized the pharmaceutical model of what they studied. So they studied women using Premarin and Prem-Pro. Now, Premarin, for those who don't know what that is, it's pharmaceutical, and they'll call it a biologic because it stands for pregnant mare's urine. What? Pregnant horse pee? You got it. Pregnant horse pee. And Prem-Pro is Premarin plus a synthetic medroxyprogesterone chemical, called Provera. So horse pee and a chemical, versus the Europeans did a mirror study, and they said, we're not giving our patients horse pee and chemical, we're giving them human-based estradiol and progesterone. So fast forward now, the study for WHI was supposed to be 10 years. At 7 years, the American researchers took a peek at the data. And what did they find? The opposite of what they thought they would find. They found an increase in breast cancer, an increase in heart attack, an increase in stroke, and they called the study. Now, the Europeans looked at their research and said, we're not seeing that. Wait a minute. So the Europeans kept going and finished their 10-year study, a smaller study, of course, but the Americans literally were so shell-shocked by what they found that the ideas of increased breast cancer, increased heart attack, increased stroke just exploded like a firebomb going off. And the Europeans at the end of their 10-year study said, gee, that's really odd, because we're seeing a decrease in breast cancer, a decrease in heart attack, and a decrease in stroke. Oh, and by the way, we're seeing reversal of osteoporosis and protection for Alzheimer's. Where are the American? Wow, is there that much difference between chemical and human-based bioidentical? That is what the true story is. And even with the latest quote unquote recommendations put out by the North American Menopause Society, they still include Premarin as part of their recommendations, they still include the data that included Premarin in their recommendations.
And it is important to say that it's not for everyone. Like if doctors are keeping an eye on something that could become cancer, correct? Should we say that as well? It's not for everyone, but the responsibility is for healthcare providers to help us weigh the risk against the benefits, correct? Like you just listed all these benefits.
Absolutely. And following and knowing your hormone levels from adolescence forward gives you the opportunity to be proactive, and you can be better prepared if you have infertility issues. You can actually shrink fibroids. You can actually then identify if you're one of those 15 to 20% of women with polycystic ovary disease. You can, even with a positive BRCA, properly balance your hormone levels and be more aware of what your mammography, what your breast health is, and you can mitigate cancer, and you can also mitigate heart disease and stroke risk. And who doesn't want to mitigate Alzheimer's risk?
Correct. My mama had dementia. So how many people again listening are like, thank you. Thank you. What we'll do is in the comments, we'll go ahead and provide links to both Dr. Mondloch's books on Amazon, as well as a link to your part 1 book club discussion that's already passed, but you can still log on and watch that. And if any of this is speaking to you, shouting to you, there's an opportunity coming up on May 28th for this book club part 2 for this book here, correct? Full Bloom?
Correct. And it goes coast to coast. So just check what your time zone is. And the link, I believe you already have, Dawn. So,
yes,
but it is being sponsored by myself.
Right.
So,
and there, I put that at the bottom because Esther wasn't able to join us today, but she's doing great things by providing that platform for these kind of discussions at Mind, MYND, myself.com.
Absolutely. And she's a marvelous wealth of information. Her network that she has is continuing to supply is a platform, internet-based, for holistic practitioners to be able to be listed on there so that people looking for the less than traditional approach, the approach that is also mind, body, spirit, not just the body, that you can start to find the practitioners on there that you feel you can connect with. So it's an international network platform for practitioners. So if you're a practitioner out there listening, consider going on Mind Myself and joining the platform.
Again, it speaks volumes to how people are together. We can, together we will. It's happening, isn't it? Yeah, I know, Dr. Crawford, that you know it firsthand. I know Dr. Mondloch, you know it firsthand. So I thank you so much. Again, May 28th, 9 p.m. Eastern. Is that correct? 9 p.m. Eastern.
Correct.
A chance to log in and, in your words, take another dive into learning how to flourish. I love that word. Yes, please. Yes, please. As we explore more of the practical things that you can do positively, right? Optimistically, that you can do to navigate this journey and feel better along the way. That is classic. Together we can, together we will. And I say God weaves, now watch him work. So I am so grateful for the weaving that led to both of you. And I thank you. And I'm just grateful for the fact that you have begun to shred the silence and have offered such practical advice. So thank you again.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Very good. God bless you.